ultimately proved worthless. At the end of the day Friday, its value was over $12 million.
Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. It only gets more and more. Yeah. Yo, it's crypto, it's not a game. Moving up, moving down, bet it's still the same. Cryptocurrency is not a shame. We're driving fast cars, we don't ride on horsebacks. Yeah, 21st century and more. Bitcoin is the first coin. 10 years investments in crypto will give more. Invest wisely and keep trading that coin. I need my streams to be paid in Bitcoins. Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. So it only gets more and more. Yeah. Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. So it only gets more and more. Yeah. Are you trading Ethereum or the Litecoin? Meet me up at Binance with your coins. Yeah, cause crypto is here to change the game. And this XRP can never be blamed. $1, $10, 100 and still moving. Rising and falling, but the future growth is certain. Million, billion, trillion, zero. Cruise the block with my chain, blockchain hero. Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. So it only gets more and more. Yeah. Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. So it only gets more and more. Yeah. This is cryptocurrency and you can build your portfolio. I short this currency, I lose my life, yo. Be a millionaire, there's no reason to be waiting. Sierra, Luna, Cardano, Solana. Waves, Harmony, a Dogecoin, chills. The coin for sport fan. Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. So it only gets more and more. Yeah. Crypto generation is moving back, moving forth. Crypto generation, moving up, moving down. It only gets more and more. So it only gets more and more. Yeah. Crypto generation, stretch forth your wings to the digital currency takeover. I mean.
function, pumping and dumping, manipulate the market, flooded from the darknet, flooded from the deep web, keep it a secret. Every exchange got the nerdy brains trading on the frequent.
All right, let's see how we do here. We're going to flip it over to face mode now. Hey, I am never going to be on time for one of these, am I? Over to face mode. Awesome. Now. Okay, so audio works. Hello, everyone out there on the interwebs. It is I, Sidepocket. What is a Sidepocket? Well, that's what people refer to me on the internet. I'm one of the two co-founders of DCG 201, formerly known as DEFCON 201 or DC 201. We're one of the many awesome computer hacker groups that are based after DEF CON, the major convention that happens in Las Vegas every August, pretty much now. There's many groups, DEF CON groups across the nation around the world, and we are one of them. In fact, 201 stands for New Jersey. And if you want to know more, here's a link tree to all of our social links and blogs and things like that. And speaking of our blog, I want to do a particular focus on, I wonder why that's not working, on, interesting, of our blog right there. Let me just reload this. Okay, that should work, but that's a link to our blog in the chat. Hopefully everyone can see it. I'm actually just going to repost our blog again just in case. See if it works this time. There we go. Now everything works. First of all, I want to apologize for the webcam clarity. Unfortunately, I forgot a few things in order to set this up, and I literally got everything but the high-quality HD camera. So right now we are running off of the incredibly crappy built-in camera on this laptop, where I am both in resolution and in frame rate in what I like to call Sega CD mode. But honestly, there's usually not that much of a focus on my face when it comes to Crypto Barons, so I think we can deal with one terrible low-res version of the episode. As you can see again, I am at the Secret Hacker compound because I am in the void again with all of you guys, and this is one of the two shows that I personally run in addition to our meetings, which, yes, I'm very aware that there was no meeting in February. The thing is that I decided to move everything into March so I could better plan things. March is going to be our 6-year anniversary, despite the dud year that we had last year. So I plan on not only going full speed ahead with in-person and online meetings, in a hybrid format, but also more episodes of these type of shows, including Master of Unlocking, where I teach how to pick locks, and this show, which is Crypto Barons, where we look at cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies as technologies. But I also have a couple of other announcements, including that, and I'll give a hint here, instead of just meeting up once a month for DCG 201, how about something really specific where we meet up twice a month, one for the general meeting and one for something else? That is something that's been a work in progress. I hope to announce it very soon, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited about it. I will say, if you like some of our live streams and the content in them, I think you're going to be really excited for this in-person thing. So lots of stuff in March. I was super busy in February. March, I have nothing to do, so I can focus on doing this, and that makes me happy, despite everything getting in my way today, which is why we're streaming at nearly midnight instead of the 8 p.m. like I originally wanted. But anyhow, cheers. So as I said, this is Crypto Barons. This is where we look at cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies as technologies. And I just realized how truly terrible my hair is this episode. So, as I've said before, a lot of shows about cryptocurrency and blockchain, they often are just snake oil hype videos. We've been actually meaning to post a meme that we created a while ago that simply stated, it's that terrible Steven Crowder coffee mug pose, and the caption basically reads, that cryptocurrency is the astrology signs for tech bros change our mind, because it really is. Most of these type of videos are talking about being bullish and the bear market and buying on the dip and all sorts of dumb, crazy snake oil crap like that. And sometimes on the show we touch a little bit on finance, and sometimes we touch a little bit on like the community stuff. In fact, we're going to have a mix of those this episode. But what we primarily look at is, as we said, these cryptocurrencies and blockchain tech as actual tech. So we like reading white papers. We like doing the math in white papers. If there's a test net, we try to run it. If there's a wallet, we try to run it. We like to look at the code that all of this tech is based off of. We try to find if things work, if things are bullshit, potential security flaws, things like that. And of course, another thing that we also do on this show, as we had in a conversation with a really interesting user on Mastodon about, is that sometimes, and there will be bits of this here and there this episode, where we will literally go into a topic knowing that the thing we're going to cover is some sort of a scam or an actual malicious hack, and we reveal how we know this, dissecting it, and also how you look out for things like this. That's so our main focus is on the technology part, but another thing is, we are the DCG 201 is a member of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a activist sort of organization that's under the EFF, or Electronic Frontier Foundation. And while not exactly EFA stuff, we do like to educate our public of like, hey, like we did with the whole Terra Luna stuff, like, this is going to go south, or, OneCoin, this is a goddamn scam, and things like that. So this is going to be kind of one of those episodes, although it's going to be a very interesting topic, because I'll put it this way. So all this month, which is what we were supposed to be celebrating, is Black History Month in the United States. Yay! For those who don't know or can't tell because of how pale I am, even though I do work outside of my day job, I still haven't gotten a lot of sun. And it seems like the security cats are now on patrol, so that's really good for the hacker compound. It's always good when they're actually functioning as security instead of bug testing each other. Anyhow, what was I on this topic? So if you haven't noticed, I'm half black. You don't have to be African of descent, a brown African of descent, in order to appreciate and celebrate Black History Month, but kind of affects me. In fact, I would say that there's a lot of crossover between like stereotypes and biases against brown Africans and people of brown African descent, and the sort of criminalized stereotypes that you get with being or associating with hackers. So I have the 201 combo of being both. And so, never mind other members, Black History Month, and when we get to celebrate Black diaspora and stuff, is very meaningful towards me, especially because, full disclosure, I feel that a lot of times when we talk about Africans and African culture, we continue to stereotype ourselves. And this is all really important. I'm saying it's not important, but I feel like we continue to stereotype ourselves by, I'll put it this way, every time I go to a Kwanzaa event, right? It's always about, there's a lot of poetry, there's a lot of dancing, sometimes there's historical recaps, which is very important. And all this is important to African culture. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like something that gets out of the conversation, which continues to stereotype Africans and people of African descent, people of color, is we rarely talk about contributions of Africans and African Americans in the technological spaces, both computing and analog. There's been a lot of them. There's actually been a ton of really important ones, whether you're talking about locks or DeFi or malicious software, programming, computing, hardware, all of that. There's always been people of color, especially of African descent. And I feel like that not only is not talking about a huge disservice for those people in that category of people in the diaspora, and also in the homeland of in the African continent, but it also is kind of a disservice to how Africans are perceived, where we're seen as like spiritual, musical people, which Africans are, but that's it. It's often portrayed, look at something like Mr. Robot, even though Sami Malek's name is of Middle Eastern descent, but it's often portrayed of technological positions as being exclusively towards those of white Eurasian descent, particularly in Western Europe, Northern Western Europe, I might clarify, and Eastern Europe too. But that's always been seen in the realm of that, and not within, brown people in the Middle East, even to some degree, East and Southeast Asians, Africans, Indigenous Americans, Latinos and Latinas, Latinxes, things like that. And it's very important because before we get into the meat and potatoes of the topic today, we're going to be talking about crypto barons. You have no idea how many times I've had to tell really super smart African people, black people, men and women, who are really smart at technology and have just figured out things that just absolutely blow my mind, like creating distros from scratch, figuring out CVEs, even though they don't know it's called a CVE, doing absolutely crazy stuff with Android operating systems, bypassing iPhone securities, fixing computers and TVs and things like that. And I have to let them know that what they're doing is hacking. It never enters their brain until I tell them, yo, dude, you just completely bypassed all of the latest Android security measures, and to be able to sideload your own stuff. You just did a hack. At the code level, you did a hack. And they're always like, holy crap, yeah, I did. It doesn't even enter their brain, even though, imagine building a table or something, and then telling that person, wow, man, you're a really good carpenter, and then come to the realization that the person didn't even realize they were doing carpentry. That's what you often see in the African diaspora. And when I ask, hey, you did this amazing tech thing, why didn't you realize you were hacking? They had to think about it, and then they realized, to quote one person I had to tell who did an amazing cell phone hack, that they realize when they think of hacking, they think of, as they call, white people shit. And that is how it is seen, where Africans don't see themselves as technological measures. And I'll even say, even within the realm of technology, it is more showcased and is more exemplified. I realize how much my beard blends into my shirt, of Africans being business tech leaders, the business side of things, which is always important in tech. Don't get me wrong. If you have a tech product, you need people who can finance it, learn how to raise funds for it, market it, do product distribution, etc., business models, things like that. But that's all they're seen as. So you have no idea how many times I've gone to a black tech event that is supposed to show off Africans as tech people, and the majority of the panels is the business side of things. And there's either nothing or almost next to nothing about black people who do coding, who do front-end development, back-end development, red teaming, blue teaming, UXI design, NetSec, DevSec, all these different things. You never see it, even at black tech conferences. And so this has been a frustration for me personally for a while. I know it is for a lot of other people, even people who are white or who are not of African descent. They have expressed this type of frustration. And so one of the things that we kind of end up doing at DCG 201, sometimes my initiative, sometimes not, is, really highlighting that, hey, hacking is not only a huge field, but that anyone and everyone can and has been a hacker. You have women hackers, you have trans women hackers, non-binary, people of color, people are disabled, just all sorts of people out there, and they're not talked about enough. And so we want to showcase that. And so I figured, to cap off Black History Month in my country of the United States, which is where New Jersey falls under, sometimes unfortunately, that we would take a look at something I've been building for a while. In fact, it's one of the reasons why this live stream was a little late, and look at not only cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies that are featured in the continent of Africa itself and all of its different nations and tribes, but also some of the global ramifications, good and especially bad, that result from it. Before we switch over screens, I want to remind, because this is a live stream, that if you are, my brain just blanked out, that if you are interested in the content that you see or are interested in future content, hold on a second, let me just type something real quick. There we go. That you can follow us on, well, we've kind of changed the live streams a bit. We are mainly streaming now on Twitch and YouTube. And when you follow us on there, if you haven't followed us before, you'll get a notification to cheer you on. As we mentioned previously, we depreciated our DLive. I do know that we're probably going to bring our DLive back in April for something really special. And in fact, we might actually briefly bring it back next month for our anniversary, just because it is a legacy thing. Our new blockchain live streaming thing is Odyssey, which we don't have prompts for yet. I'm still figuring out if and how we can do that. The other thing is we are also streaming, if you want just non-blockchain, but something, decentralized and anti-censorship. We're on Diode Zone, which is an awesome instance of PeerTube, which is basically YouTube that doesn't suck. And we also have a NVIDIA mirror from our YouTube. So you can actually watch us on YouTube with not having to go to a YouTube shitty interface. And two, you can now load it through Tor at a .onion address and watch these live streams and videos anonymously. So as I said before, if you do follow us on Twitch and YouTube, we will get a notification. I also want to highlight that if you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe to us because it really helps out the channel, just like it does on Twitch. But also make sure you click that bell and put on all notifications. And I hate that I have to say that every episode, but YouTube is, as you probably have noticed, a really badly programmed piece of shit. So instead of just having all notifications on default, they put it at mid-level because YouTube, again, likes to screw with everyone. Another thing is that while we are not doing, and I'm trying to rectify this, while we are not doing a live stream, we are doing a live stream, but while we're not doing a, hold on. What the hell did I just do? While we're not doing a, a charity live stream this month. We might do one next month. We are definitely probably going to do one in either April or May because it's been a while and I miss doing those type of live streams. However, so we're not doing any, we're not asking for your donations or anything this month, even though it honestly would have been perfect for it. I am going to highlight, because the Giving Block, which is a web page landing in order to it's brilliant. Basically, the Giving Block, we covered this 2 Christmases ago, and it's where you can go and donate. You can go and donate. Hold on, let's do this. You can donate cryptocurrency, major, minor, and otherwise, to various charities, because a lot of charities do not have a direct interface for doing cryptocurrency, and the Giving Block is a reputable website and charity organization that can do that. In fact, it's one of, honestly, the best things that have come out of cryptocurrency and blockchain recently. And so... I'm sorry, I know this sounds like college radio right now, but trust me, we're going to get into the meat of this. So I do want to highlight that in addition to, on our Twitch, having a little thing where you can donate various cryptocurrencies directly to us, which helps out with this show, if you would like. And, hold I mean, we used to have one on DLive, but we should have the links in YouTube in the March episodes as well. It's a banner that shows them. If you want to donate to a really good cause, the Giving Block has a donation for what's called Water Wells for Africa, which is exactly what it sounds. They take the cryptocurrency you send through the Giving Block, and they basically search out new water wells for different villages and towns in various African nations. They provide resources in order to sanitize the water and clean the water so it's safe to drink for these people. And what's going here? Is this playing? Okay, good. And yeah, I mean, look at America with Flint and the whole thing in Ohio. Like, even in a first world country like ours, drinking water is terrible. I mean, heck, I'm from New Jersey, and I can tell you that thanks to bad pipes in every single one of the buildings, that's why every single New Jerseyan that does not have 3 eyes or extra toes has a filter on their water tap, because we don't have the amazing water that's in New York, despite being right next to it, because again, our crappy pipes. So even in like my state has a problem with clean water, is definitely a problem in Africa. So if you want to help out some fellow brothers and sisters and people of color in their homeland, we just posted the link in chat for that. It's also in our YouTube and other descriptions for our live stream. Okay, so without that out of the way, let's get right in the episode. There's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to be covering. So yeah, let's flip over to desktop mode and let's see what's going on. All right, so I think, okay, so I actually have to tab back here. Where'd you go? There you go. All right. This is what it should have landed on. So yeah, this is our Medium blog. As I've been saying the past couple episodes, you've probably seen that it hasn't been updated in a while. Don't worry. I know I said this last time, but it will be updated soon. Again, I have even if it takes the end of next week to announce our actual anniversary meetup, which is happening, we should be having another announcement for a smaller in-person meetup that I think people are going to be overjoyed to see. I'm going to be promoting both, as well as our episodes, which I'm not sure about Crypto Barons, but I know for at least Master of Unlocking, because it is Women's Month, we're going to be, for Master of Unlocking, focusing on women and femme-identifying people in lock sport. So that's going to be really fun for me. I'll see about Crypto Barons. I think for Crypto Barons, we're going to be dealing with some other more pertinent topics. Not that women aren't important, but just more like, our usual episode type stuff. But it should be really neat. So yeah, this is our blog, and again, I posted the link in the chat. And I also want to shout out, because I completely forgot. I kept getting I'll put it this way. There's a point where for over 2 hours I was outside in this freezing weather. It's freezing in New Jersey right now. Very little snow, freezing. There was actually a point where a couple of weeks ago it was like 3 degrees, and even though it was way warmer on paper than 3 degrees today, it felt way colder than that. Like today felt like it was 3 degrees, and then the 3 degrees felt like it was like 30 degrees. Ugh, just goddamn Canada. So, I've been frazzled. It's one of the reasons why we got delayed and everything. And this is something that I forgot, and I also rectified on our Twitch, probably way too late, but at least it's rectified. The Blacks in Cybersecurity, who is an absolute major organization, I'm going to be completely honest, especially with the work they've done now, we work together a lot. I've actually did a lock sport thing for them a couple of years ago. I'm teaching lockpicking. I would love to do again in person this year. But the stuff that they do and their professionalism and just their sheer awesomeness is something that us at DCG 201 are inspired by. So we always look for Blacks in Cybersecurity, which you can find them at blacksincyberconf.com. I'm going to actually post the link in chat. We always look to them as like inspiration, as well as like the ceiling, the standard, the quality standard that we feel like our org should be doing, that recently, to be honest, we haven't been really doing that well in. So that's sort of our like high bar right there. And today they did their winter conference, which is usually around like January, February. They do an entire winter thing. This year, they had a physical after party in Washington, D.C., but most of this was online. And I only saw pieces of things, but they have really, really good talks. And this is a good example of what I mean, where like they're black in cybersecurity, they're black in tech, and they do talk about racial issues, especially in job sectors and careers. Um, they talk about things, some general tech things, but man, do they really focus on like the actual tech aspect of it. As you can see here, some of these topics: security strategies for critical and smart infrastructures, refining your offensive pen test methodology. Uh, let's see, security engineering, uh, tokenism, probably more ways than one. Prepping for the OSCP exam. Just all sorts of amazing stuff. And again, all of this is online. You can go to YouTube. You can go to their Twitch on their website, and all of their talks and demos and stuff are online, and you can just watch them. And so we just love that. So even though I would have loved to cover this live, and I hope that next year we cover this live, I'm probably going to be covering it. Go check them out. I just posted their main website in chat. Go check it out. Search Black in Cybersecurity on YouTube and Twitch. You'll find their channel. You'll find all the stuff they did at the Winter Conference. It was absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to highlight that this episode, since we are talking about people of color in technology. But now let's more focus on the cryptocurrency and blockchain aspect of it. So if you haven't heard, and we're going to go full circle on this episode, because I'll put it this way, we're going to talk about, here's how we're going to break down cryptocurrency and blockchain tech in Africa. We're going to kind of start off with like kind of a very little, like couple sentence brief history of it. Then we're going to kind of go into why, to some degree, the African continent and its various nations are like super hotbeds of cryptocurrency, as well as like why they are adopting it way faster than any other country, especially for the United States. And then we're going to kind of look at sort of the tech that led them there and the specific cryptocurrency and blockchain techs. Some of it's really practical. Some of it are scams, and we're going to call them out on it. Some of it, a lot of it is interesting. Some of it's useful. Some of it's really weird. And then at the end, we're going to kind of loop back and finish explaining why Africa has been a hotbed for cryptocurrency and blockchain tech in a not very pleasant way, sort of like the reality of it and what needs to be overcome in order for it to be like an actual natural progression, as opposed to astroturfing, which we're going to get into at the end. Also at the end, we're going to be looking at pieces of code throughout this episode, and honestly, we probably have roughly an hour left at max. But we're going to try to do one tech thing at the end. If you saw our episode about the Chinese yuan, it's going to be very similar. We're going to be almost doing the exact same thing, but with a completely different program. And that's how kind of this episode is going to be broken down. So first of all, especially, it's been this way for a while. I would want to say that I started hearing about cryptocurrency stuff in various African nations, Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, Congo, South Africa, Tunisia, since like the mid 2000s, or late mid 2000s. Like I started hearing it more around like 2017 ish, right? But very recently, in the past 3 to 5 years, like I would want to say, like in like 2019, all the way through the pandemic, it's really exploded. There's a little article that I found about how crazy this has gone. It opens with, although the African continent receives only 2% of the global value of all cryptocurrency, the rapid growth will transform financing and increasing digital and urban sub-Saharan Africa. In fact, a recent report by Chainalysis, a blockchain data platform, found that between July 2020 and June 2021, Africans received $105.6 billion worth of cryptocurrency payments, an increase of 1,200% from the year before. Notably from Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria, which all three of those countries are in the top 10 countries globally for cryptocurrency use. And there's many reasons why they've adopted on. And I'm going to talk about some of like the potential quote good things, because we're going to talk about the bad at the end. A big one is that a lot of these countries, thanks to, and this is kind of a hint to what we're going to be talking about later, thanks to all of the colonialism and the fact that when the colonists not only destroyed their nations and dignity and people, that when they moved out, because they basically strip mined the place, they left nothing left. So all they do know is cruelty and power and just awfulness. So these nations are still ruled, instead of being ruled by like the royal families of Europe, who are mostly dead, except for you, the UK, because you guys suck. They're still run by dictators. Many of them are the United States CIA keeps like putting in charge, because we just like to hit ourselves with our own hands. Oh God, this country. And so not only do you have many African, not just countries, but in particular, because there's a lot of countries in Africa that are rich. I mean, if you want to even look at an Arab-based African country, like Egypt is pretty rich. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen on the ground floor there's a huge wealth gap. And so, like, not only do you just have so many people living in Africa who are broke, kind of like the United States now, but you also have just constant, kind of like the United States now, bad political strife, all these sorts of things. And so you either have, it's like basically you either have the Wild West in the worst way possible, or really stringent controls, especially in terms of finances, and you never have both or some good middle ground. And a lot of the way social control is handled in various African villages and nations is through finance. The two things that I noticed a lot of African nations tend to control, especially if they're pure dictatorships, is they control the population by controlling food supply and the money. And because of that control of money, which feeds into that, they all feed into each other, the food supply and thus also social perception, banking in Africa is not really that well trusted. There's so many different banks, like a lot of things in Africa. It's kind of like the made in China stuff in China. A lot of them are scummy and scams and just terribleness, right? So there's a very big interest, one, of Africans to bypass that entire system, because it is very blatantly, their fiat systems are really blatantly corrupt. And a lot of them have put their trust into cryptocurrencies, particularly in Bitcoin. As said here, because cryptocurrency platforms bypass traditional banking services by introducing decentralized peer-to-peer lending services, they help level the economic playing field, expand finance options to underserved customer markets. In fact, the 48 billion remitted to Sub-Saharan Africa in 2019, chain analysis estimates that up to 562 million worth of remittance payments were facilitated by cryptocurrencies such as Ripple. Currencies have also accelerated affordable mortgages and are accommodating regular patterns and limited credit. We've seen stories like this all over Africa. There was one South African school that had to close down to the pandemic, and the people there literally invested in Bitcoin and also asked for donations of Bitcoin. And once the vaccinations fully rolled out in early 2001, they were able to completely financially open the school entirely because of Bitcoin donation and investing. So you do see things like that. These are actual practical things that the local Africans have done there. So that's one thing. But there's always also been a confusion because, and here's, by the way, the top 10 countries of crypto adoption. You have Ukraine, Russia, Venezuela, China, Kenya, United States of America, South Africa, Nigeria, Colombia, and Vietnam. So 3 of them are major African nations. United States, ironically, is number 6. Ukraine's number 1 because everyone's donating to them because of number 2, Russia, who's trying to destroy everything. And Venezuela is just crazy. And China's probably dropped a lot because they've done a lot of crackdowns on cryptocurrency, like we covered in our previous episode. Well, 2 episodes ago, I should say. So the big question, though, is a lot of people are like, okay, we get why a lot of African nations and people who live in Africa would want to adopt Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that. But a thing I've never seen answered, even though there's a very obvious answer, is, and this again comes to a stereotype about Black Africans. Even in the United States, we have this stereotype, which again, Africans are never seen as technological people, technologically minded, technologically savvy, or advanced people. This is how we're portrayed in media, and it's not that it's not unfounded, but it's just really it's kind of like imagine, and there is kind of this imagine where every single portrayal of a European white person is that they're always racist, like blatantly KKK racist. Obviously that's a huge chunk. There's a chunk of people who are like that, but obviously all white people aren't like that, and there's a lot who are very anti-racist, things like. And it's the same sort of thing where, blacks are always portrayed as kind of just and like outside of like ringtones that play cool beats, we're never seen as like harbingers of technology and technological progress. And this, unfortunately, again, feeds into the finance market, where I have people both in both ends of fintech, whether it is fiat currency, because this is the old money, or literally the new money in cryptocurrency, while a lot of people in cryptocurrency are probably sheepishly for Africa, they kind of get confused of like, why is Africa adopting this so fast? Because when we, let's face it, unfortunately think of Africans, we think of Starvin' Marvin from South Park. We think of, just these kids playing in dirt in the middle of the field with broken glass bottles and, people with machine guns attached to shopping carts. And I keep realizing that as I say this, this now today less describes an African nation and more describes Texas. So yeah, that's changed. But again, it's like, so people are like, why are they so fast to adopt this? Well, here's kind of something that I'm shocked a lot of people don't know about. The reason why, in my opinion, African nations and people in Africa are so fast to adopt cryptocurrency is because this is not the first time that they've encountered digital currency. Okay? The United States, a lot of people in the United States, their first introduction to like pure digital currency, unless they were on Second Life or World of Warcraft, had to deal with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But long before that, like literally in like the late 90s, many African nations were already dealing with pure digital currency systems. And possibly the most well-known that still keeps going on today is m-pesa. M standing for mobile, and pesa standing is Swahili, kind of like the title of our episode, and we should have probably put a pesa thing in there, for money. So already a lot of people in Swahili, which, Africa has so many different language systems, especially locally, but thanks to colonialism, there's a bunch of different shared common languages. I'll give you a hint. You want to speak to 1/3 of the African nations, no French. If you want to speak to all of them, no English. And if you want to speak to another almost third, Swahili, especially in East Africa. So in M-Pesa, they currently have operating, this is how many, there's so many countries. Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Afghanistan, Lesotho, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ghana, Mozambique, Egypt, and Ethiopia. And they are a mobile phone-based money transfer service. They started in 2007. They literally predate and in their nations are more popular and apparently way more efficient than Cash App or Venmo. So, while we Westerners were thinking of Africans as Starvin' Marvin and their most advanced technology is like, they're playing a brick that has a Game Boy drawn on it. In reality, they were Cash Apping people years before Cash App even existed, before PayPal properly set up. Well, Elon Musk was running it in the ground. like he usually does. So this is why I feel that Africans are really catching on to crypto, because they've been doing digital currency for years. And I have a bunch of videos this episode. So let's take a quick video from M-pesa's website that kind of details a bit, because I kind of gave hints talking about like Cash App and stuff of what M-pesa is like as a service here. So here we go. Let's learn more about M-pesa through video instead of me boringly explaining it.
What is m-pesa? Africa has a large unbanked population. A lot more cash transactions happen outside of the continent's financial institutions than inside them. In 2006, only 2 out of 10 Kenyans had bank accounts, and most of those account holders lived in cities like Nairobi and Mombasa, where banks were easily accessible. To transfer cash to relatives and friends in rural areas, a city worker would put the money in an envelope and use courier services to deliver the envelope to the village by road. The process was lengthy and unreliable, not to mention very risky. This was a problem that needed a solution. That solution was m-pesa. M-pesa is the world's leading mobile money service. It gives people without traditional bank accounts access to financial services. Using their phone numbers as account numbers and their mobile phones as mobile wallets, users are able to make transfers, pay for goods and services, access credits and savings, and much more. The onboarding process is authenticated through a national identity card, and each transaction is validated via SMS. M-pesa users can fund their accounts either through an authorized agent or a bank to M-pesa top-up. Cash withdrawals can also be made through an authorized agent or an ATM. That way, that same city worker can now send money back to the village in just a few clicks. M-pesa is as Kenyan as safaris. M stands for mobile and pesa is Swahili for money, but its origin can actually be traced to the British Commonwealth. In 2000, telecom giant Vodafone received funding from the British government to develop a product that would improve access to financial services in East Africa. The telco worked with its Kenyan affiliate Safaricom to develop a solution. After a 2-year-long pilot, M-pesa was officially launched in 2007. Since then, M-pesa has grown. It has spread around East Africa and throughout the continent. It is also used in parts of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. In Kenya, its birthplace, M-pesa has had a remarkable impact. It has reduced the percentage of Kenyans without access to financial services, increased per capita consumption levels, and lifted several households out of poverty. But not everyone is impressed. There have been accusations of monopoly, high transaction charges, and inadequate data privacy. M-pesa is by no means a perfect solution to Africa's unbanked problem, but even its biggest detractors wouldn't disagree that it has been one of the most impactful technologies in Africa's history.
So yeah, that's M-pesa. So basically, it is developed by the Safaricom company. Roughly like 2006, 2007, this rolled out like in full operation, and it's kind of amazing because I heard about it because I followed a lot of global news, because this was barely reported. There was like one famous, you can still find it on YouTube, like CNN Money episode about this, but that's not where I heard it from. This was highly reported on like BBC, Sky TV, Al Jazeera. Everyone else was talking about this except for the United States, because we're in the United States. And there's a ton of advantages to this. What's crazy is that African nations have access to Cash App and Venmo and PayPal and all these other finance services, but many of them who have access to M-pesa still use it. And you can see why, because again, because it was built before smartphones took off, it's like the IRC of African financing. It is the most bare bones basic. As was said in the video, all you need to do M-Pesa, even today to some degree, is whatever government ID you use in the country that M-Pesa is compatible with. So if you're in Kenya, you need your Kenyan ID. If they were in New Jersey, I would have to use my New Jersey state ID or driver's license. It'd be something like that. So the number on that, so you register with that and your phone. That's it. As long as someone else is registered with their ID and their phone on M-Pesa, you can not only pay with things, but you can directly send money. So it's just text messaging. There's no app. Nowadays, there is an app, and we're going to get to that in a second. There is a dedicated app, and you can also embed M-Pesa into web storefronts, including into applications, so like apps on your phone. But that's a new development. You can still just send stuff through text. And note how little it is. Not asking you to download an app. They're not asking you to set up an account with M-Pesa. You're not linking a credit card to this. This is all done through your ID, which your credit card is kind of linked to because you need the ID to go to the bank, and a phone, their phone number. So you can see how this got adopted really fast because like rural people in remote areas who have cheap, like $5 flip phones, we're now able to wirelessly transfer money like Americans with fancy, what we later use with American fancy smartphones, predating, the iPhone taking off. You see how insane this is. And before we kind of end the bit with M-Pesa, I have another video that shows the actual practical applications that Africans were using this whole system for. So let's see what this looks like in a real world environment to show you what I'm talking about.
Actress Marcy Chege lives in Nairobi and is a busy woman. A mother of 3, she's always under time pressure. That's why she uses the mobile money system M-pesa, a name derived from the Swahili word for money. A growing number of stores in Kenya offer the service. At the supermarket checkout, she pays by sending an SMS.
I don't have to carry cash, and also when you pay with M-Pesa, there are no charges, there are no extra charges, you just pay and that's it. The exact amount that you bought things for.
The service is only free in supermarkets and restaurants, but the charge is never more than a few cents. Mercy uses M-Pesa to pay for her coffee and to transfer money to her relatives in the country, safely.
When you go to upcountry, they know you're from Nairobi and you have money. So that's also a security risk. But when you do it with M-Pesa, no one will know you've sent money and no one will know the other person has received money.
Nairobi is notorious for being one of the most dangerous cities in Africa. In the past, money was sent up-country by bus and often didn't arrive. M-Pesa was founded 7 years ago by Safaricom as a mobile phone-based money transfer service. It now has around 18 million customers across Africa. The limit per transaction is about 1,000 euros.
The business of moving $1 or $2 has never been in the purview of the banking environment, and that's where products like M-Pesa come in.
Experts say that M-Pesa's PIN-secured SMS text messages make it relatively secure. But of course, the company is up against the same risks as international banks.
Any platform such as M-Pesa, which is allowing 20 million people and more to come on the platform, is going to have challenges in this new cyber insecurity ecosystem that we now live in.
As mobile phone use grows in African cities, so does the potential for e-commerce. Today, it contributes 11 billion euros to the African economy per year and is expected to rise to 190 billion over the next 10 years.
Kenya's been a laboratory experiment. We're seeing it grow from just money transfer, plain and simple, pure, predominantly from the urban areas into the rural areas. We're now seeing massive expansion.
M-Pesa has also been expanded to Tanzania and South Africa. It's also being launched in Romania. In Germany, mobile payment services have yet to go mainstream, with users so far numbering less than 200,000. that might start to change. In the fall of 2014, Apple introduced Apple Pay, a mobile payment and digital wallet service. Statistics on users have yet to be released. Mercy Chega's grandmother lives about 50 kilometers outside Nairobi, and the nearest bank is far away. Now Mercy sends her money via m-pesa, and it's made her life much easier.
Young people these days never have any time to come and see me. They're always in such a hurry. When you're older, you can't earn much money here. So these mobile services are really helpful. They always work. I've even been transferred money from overseas.
Not only is m-pesa convenient and useful, it also helps make the world a smaller place. Shift says,
So as you can see there, as I said before, M-Pesa is a very flexible digital financing system, and it's super simple to the absolute basic level. As you saw with that lady, she had a dumb phone. She had like the type of cell phone that I had when I first got a cell phone, and she lives literally in the middle of nowhere, and she was able, to her family who were living in a more technologically beneficial city in Africa, were able to directly send her money. And if she made money and like wants to like tip her grandchildren or something for their birthday, she was able to send that back through that dumb phone. And even an old smartphone like the Samsung Duos that you saw there, that Replicant keeps trying to put their stupid ass GNU shit on. And as they said in the video, this is before Apple Pay rolled out. They were doing essentially Cash App and Apple Pay years before we even had the concept of that. So one, I hope this really shows that, you know, now you present people in Africa, hey, you have a cryptocurrency system that is like your digital money, but one is its own token system. It's its own money system. And a lot of it's decentralized, and a lot of it has encryption on it. They instantly get that. There's no like trying to sit down and explain. They get it because they've been using these type of systems for years. I also hope that by going over the history of this, that, you know, and trust me, this is the understatement of the year, many African nations and villages have huge problems, especially with corruption. As you saw, before they had this, they used to ship fiat money via bus. Of course, those buses never got to their destinations because, you know, if you have guns, free money. See any Midwestern country, state in the United States. But like, I hope that seeing this will also start changing your attitudes, thinking that like all Africans in the continent of Africa are all like just like people wearing diapers in the middle of an irradiated wasteland. You know, there are definitely areas in Africa that are like that. Many nations have that poverty problem, but that's not the entire continent. And I hope that kind of opens your eyes that, you know, every civilization and nation has their technological progress, their technological adoption. And, you know, with the age of the internet, sharing these ideas and improving them, especially as hackers, is how we actually get nice things, instead of which we're going to be covering in a moment, why we can't get nice things. But let's wrap this up a bit with M-Pesa, like how flexible it is. You have interesting applications such as Tiny Pesa, which is basically M-Pesa, but it's a single reward system. So some of you might be familiar like with Spank Pay, which I hope to cover in the next couple of months, where sometimes you can have like a .eth URL or like a micro URL where you go to, and it's a landing page where you can directly either have your wallet IDs, or you can like literally direct click with your MetaMask or whatever to donate, and that's like your little like wallet public page. they've been doing that even before that happened, where you have a tinypesa.com URL with whatever username you have, and people can just instantly, through their text message or through the app, send you money on the landing page. This is before crypto started coming up with those concepts in order to better exchange coins. And if you're wondering how a lot of this is held together, again, they have extensive development tools and APIs. Normally you have to sign up for them, but here's like little examples. They literally have them for every sort of thing. And in fact, we're going to look at their GitHub in a second. If you want to go to the safari.com GitHub, not only have I posted the link in chat, but I also, if you're on Twitch, you can scroll down and there's a widget for our GitHub and you can follow along with us. But they are literally on every single goddamn thing. They have an implementation of API in Node.js, in Python. There we go. It does this. This is kind of like fancy stuff where it actually does it line by line, by the way. So they have it in Python. They have it in Java. I don't know why you would want to have it in Java, all the security flaws that came with that, looking at use-specific 2 years ago. PHP, which is something that we shared on our GitHub that we'll look at in a moment. And what I'm kind of excited for is that they even have one in Ruby. I haven't found the repo for that yet, but I really want to look at that. But the one that we did share, as you can see if you go to their GitHub, is they did I did manage to fork over. Oh, by the way, one that they didn't list here, they have a library in C# so that you could use it in more dedicated apps. And they recently came up with a wrapper. It's unofficial, but a wrapper for Go. So if you are crazy and you want to do things in Go, there you go. There we have one there for you. But the one that we shared is the one that's in. Let me find it here. Py, Java, Node. Here we go. And PHP. So yeah, there's this package that helps the PHP developers influence various m-pesa MPIs without much hassle. You do your basic install commands. You have your own your configuration keys on consumer, your secret key, and all that. You can kind of set up. It's honestly, if you've ever looked at any sort of like storefront in like JSON or Python or C or something like that, it looks very similar to what you would actually use for like the storefronts with that. And if you've ever set up like an online storefront, it's very similar code. Now, while this is all impressive, and we're going to get into the cryptocurrency stuff in a moment, I will say that, as they mentioned in the introduction video on this, M-Pesa is not without its flaws. And I want to find a quick video, because remember how I said that now recently there's an app? Well, about that app.
How to steal someone's money with just one fingerprint. All you need to know is just their pattern or their phone unlock pin. This is how Safaricom is unsafe with our M-Pesa pin. Let's go. If you know their unlock pin, go to settings, go to security and password, go to fingerprint, add their pattern or fingerprint, go to add your fingerprints now, draw their pattern, add your fingerprint, and you're good. Let's now proceed. Now, if your target whatever doesn't have my M-Pesa app, you can go to Play Store. You can go to Play Store and download my M-Pesa app. But since I have my M-Pesa app, I'm going to show you with mine. So go to my M-Pesa, use the biometric fingerprint sensor to unlock now using your fingerprint. Boom. Now you can send money, pay, or withdraw money with just your fingerprint without even knowing his or her pattern. Go to send money, enter, continue. You can send, let me send just one bob for send money, send. Now come, without even knowing his or her fingerprint, just put your finger and then boom, you're done. Money send.
So yeah, as you can see from this kind of brilliant hack, and this was a video that was made a couple of months ago. I want to say about like 5 to 6 months ago. I don't know if they patched or upgraded the program yet, but as you can see, due to an over-reliance on the direct passwords and biometrics with no implementation of 2A or any sort of two-factor authentication or any third-party authenticator, it essentially accepts unlimited amounts of fingerprints, so you can log in with someone, override their fingerprint, and then you don't even need to use your account key to do your m-pesa, because once it unlocks with your fingerprint ID, it unlocks everything for you. So you can, like, once you have that on their device, you can use your device remotely and just do shit with their account. Again, I don't know if that was patched or fixed, but this is an example of sort of the clever hacks that people are now coming up with and have been coming up with in various African nations anytime technology is involved. And I thought I would show that, just to show that this is not like one major utopia. Like with every sort of tech thing, there are flaws. So now that we kind of got the history of them using technology out of the way, we're going to kind of blow through the rest of this really fast and look at some of the very interesting, crazy, somewhat useful, some of them are really sucky scams, implementation of blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies. Now, what I will say here, let me just fix something, is that I'm not going to cover something I already covered in our Halloween episode last year, which is there is an African tech company. They do a lot of very crazy, amazing medical tech stuff. And one of their projects is using their own encrypted blockchain in order to, with less bureaucracy, more accuracy, and more security, to track blood packets that are being donated and moved around Nigeria, if I remember correctly, and other African countries. So I'm not going to cover that again. It's a really great practical application that was homegrown in Nigeria. If you want to hear more about it, go to our Halloween episode from 2022, and I cover it in that episode. So let's look at some more stuff here, right? So one of these sort of things is, this was an interesting find. So this is another example, and we're going to kind of get this at the end, of white dude does thing in brown country. You know, there's a little bit of a white savior complex here that kind of irks me, but I do think this is an interesting concept. It's called, it's a proof of concept. It's not in complete production yet, called Ucizo. And it's a new type of donation platform. It currently just supports Bitcoin, but they have mentioned that they are interested in other sorts of cryptocurrencies. And basically, it's a very interesting way to do donations for underserviced and low-income people in African towns and villages and homes. And what this one focuses on is the school system. And as you can see here in the corner, I'm going to have a video describing what this Banking Moon project is and what's all the hubbub about. So let's watch that.
Welcome to AfricaCom TV, all your news and updates from the African tech and telco ecosystem. First up is South African Bitcoin startup Banking Moon.
By the way, I'll be back. I'm just going to refill my cup here.
Who provide blockchain-powered solutions and services that are revolutionizing the prepaid utilities industry. With many African countries deploying pay-as-you-go smart meters in the face of high utility costs and inefficient payment solutions, Banking Moon has built the world's first blockchain smart metering solution for utility grids. This technology assigns one or multiple digital wallet addresses to each meter, and these meters are loaded with sending digital currency to the address, which is then credited to the consumer's account. The integration of Bitcoin with the smart grid allows users to send electricity, water and gas to anyone in the world directly. This technology can go a long way in looping in the unbanked, and also has led to Ban Ki-moon establishing the utilities crowdfunding project Usizo. This social project aims to provide water and power to needy schools around South Africa by installing blockchain-aware smart meters, meaning anyone from around the world can make donations directly to the meter in the cryptocurrency of their choice.
There we go. There's the mic. So again, as I said before, is there kind of it's not that African nations and villages don't have financial poverty problems, but white dude trying to be like white savior thing going in to show that he's helping the help. Yeah, it's kind of iffy, but it is a very interesting concept that I would love to see this more developed, especially open sourced and given to the communities instead of it just being a proof of concept and B, that one company like Ban Ki-moon is doing. Essentially, like she said in the video, but I'll regurgitate what she said. In many African communities, instead of like what Americans do in a lot of places where in Western and East in Asian society, where you just use electricity in the same way you use water and heat, and then at the end they bill you with how much, and it's usually super overcharged because fucking PSNEG and Con Edison in this region. They put the Con in Con Edison. Let's put that. Actually, the Edison in Edison, if you know anything about fucking Edison, is craziness. I'm put it this way: if it was called Electric Tesla, we would be in a better financial and electrical situation right now. Let's put it that way. But I digress. So what a lot of places in various African nations do is, while you can still pay as you use, a lot of places prepay their electricity bills. So basically you estimate how much electricity that you think you're going to use, and you just pay that up front, and then you don't have to think about it for a month. And that way they can also like budget what they do. This doesn't solve the problems that are there with like keeping the power on, but it's just another option. And so the idea here is that, instead of going through a charity and then bureaucracy and stuff, they essentially put the power meter that gauges that you can prepay on, and they essentially attached a Wi-Fi antenna to it and an automatic scripting system. And basically you scan that QR code and you can donate Bitcoin, and then that script auto processes the Bitcoin, which a lot of these companies either now directly use in a lot of these electric companies either directly use, or they can use it on an automatic exchange for fiat, and it basically prepays the system as you donate, and then just they use that electricity for whatever you donated. So you can just directly donate electricity via your cryptocurrency into a local town and village. And that's really cool. Like Security Cat has detected a potential vulnerability, potential CVE. They have sensors that I don't have, so I don't know exactly what part of the commands they're looking at. Hopefully it's not coming anywhere near me. Just wanted to explain why you're hearing a warning meow. So yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, this is a very interesting concept. I do think that if they want to get this off the ground, after they perfect it, they should open source both the software and the hardware and allow African institutions, villages, houses, schools, churches, and people directly deal with it instead of having to go through Ban Ki-moon and shit like that, especially because it seems that the actual tech that they use to modify the electrical usage system is not very complicated. It looks like stuff that you can just buy. I almost said Radio Shack. That shows my age. At like a Micro Center in Alibaba. So that all works. It was just something I wanted to highlight, that even though this is like a white dude coming in and trying to develop it, and as you can see, he's like, yeah, look at all these happy brown people. I think it's still an interesting enough concept that if used by actual community people locally, it'd be great. If they harbor that shit, fuck this. That's all I'm going to say about that project. So let's keep moving on. So another interesting thing is there's a thing called the Satoshi Center That's in, trying to remember exactly where it is. Let me scroll up. It is in Garbon, and it's a big building, and they've made multiple projects over the years. We're going to look at some of these. I could not get Ader to load for the life of me, so we're going to kind of look at the other. The one that is natural is Kobo Coin, which is basically, and you can tell because it's a very similar interface. This is their way of kind of basically doing a crypto version of M-pesa, except the main difference here, from what I can understand, is that unlike Bitcoin, which again is unhealthily popular in Africa, and we all know how much power Bitcoin uses, that is very, very focused on being environmentally friendly. There's also a big focus on privacy and security. As it says here, your privacy is guaranteed, and that Kobo can't be faked or forged. It's using 15 cryptographic hashing algorithms, apparently. Challenge accepted. That's like the best and worst thing you can ever say to a hacker. So, good luck with that there. I just noticed that they have a wallet. We probably should have loaded that, but maybe we'll look at it in the future. But this is one product that they have. So that's kind of interesting. The other project that seemed to have stalled, and again, they disappeared. That's why we're looking at it through the Wayback Machine. And in fact, it's not that very far. This is like the biggest spike I saw before they disappeared, and that was in November of last year. So this is very recent. They kind of went offline, but this is another interesting concept. This is their first project called Plus. As it says, Plus is a platform that enables a virtual market for agriculture. So similar to the blood tracking thing that we covered in the Halloween episode, it's basically a verification platform that tracks the various tools and parts and resources that are used in order to farm. So it tracks, tractor parts, beast of burden animals that are being imported, things like that. And it has also its own, so you can use fiat money, but in addition, it also has its own native token that had a value that you're able to actually also pay with and trade and generate from. The problems, as I said, they're solving is lack of transparency in food chain supply, credit histories, and difficult in contract enforcement. It's similar to like housing in America. You need to have like good credit, which, with how many poor people are in Africa, this is a goddamn problem. Adulteration of agriculture and meat products, manipulation of prices by middlemen and big business, especially in the import market, inaccessibility for quality seeds and raw materials, inconsistency in records, and limited access to farmers to non-manipulate information. Very similar problems that the Nigerian company that made the whole blockchain tracking thing for blood donations kind of ran into. And they use a smart contracting system and blockchain and its own node validators in order to solve that. Now, again, funny enough, while their website's down, their GitHub is still completely active. Although the repositories are kind of weird and all over the place. Some of them are just descriptors. Some of them actually do have code. The one that we shared on our profile is was it the token? I think it was the token. Yeah, it's the smart contracts for the tokens. So these were ERC777 tokens, 777's lucky number, as well as the swap protocol for them. So that's the thing that we shared on our GitHub, and I'm going to post that in there. I also want to remind once again that if you do, I think we have like 15, 20 minutes left. If you do like the content that you see super late and late at night currently going on here with Crypto Barons, and you want to see more stuff, including, even though we only had one episode this month, we're going to have 2 next month, and a really cool thing that's related to that to announce, as I said, in-person meeting. As well as our specials and other things that you see here, Master of Unlocking, Circuit Breakers, things like that. You can follow us on our Twitch and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you also hit that bell and turn on all the notifications, because YouTube is shit, doesn't do that by default. And you can also follow even though we'll get no notifications for them, because you follow on Twitch and YouTube, we get to cheer you on because of the notifications. But we're also on the blockchain-based Odyssey. We're on the decentralized open source PeerTube Diode Zone instance of PeerTube, and you can also watch us completely anonymously through NVIDIA's on Tor. So we have a bunch of options there. Also, if you're still on the Bird site, aka Twitter, we're directly streaming from there as well. So hi, Elon Musk, you fuckhead. But yes, this is the actual ERC 777 token smart contract. Very smart contracty. I think this is made with Solinus. I can actually back and double check. That's another thing. A lot of these don't actually, even though like you can tell, oh, this is PHP or this is like Solana, it doesn't list that that's what it's made up of. It's just it's like everything's like half complete. So that's kind of weird. We're gonna skip one and we're gonna come back to it. Another big thing, which came out of nowhere in the middle of last year, is Cardino. Cardino is something that we plan on covering later on this year because there's so much to talk about. It's one of those big blockchain platforms like Ethereum or Polygon or things like that that people are building, or Solana, that people are building stuff directly on. And they make business deals as well with their organizations. And Cardino is doing something that is useful but creepy in Ethiopia, which they are using, and this is a little bit of a clickbait headline, but it is kind of important. They are using Cardino, and they're particularly using their governance platform, which is called Atla Prism, which sounds like a Final Fantasy, sounds like a JRPG that Square Enix would have made, to be perfectly honest. Atla Prism Infinitus. But that's what they're using to make a student, teacher and student ID system for the Ethiopian government. So the initial thing is from the Ethiopia's Ministry of Education. It plans to, it was originally supposed to happen later last year, but I think it got delayed to early this year. And the input-output HK team, they want to create tamper-proof educational records that are stored on the blockchain, and that students would be able to basically each have a unique ID that's on that blockchain. It's immutable, and they can double-check it and things like that. And so, yeah, that's what's been going on. The fact that they're using Cardino is very interesting. I can't tell if Cardino is desperate. Maybe it's the best platform for it. Again, it seems like they have very good governance systems. I'm not sure. It is kind of freaky because, as they kind of mentioned in the article here, eventually, it's kind of obvious they're going to try to progress this, making this the actual ID system for all citizens of Ethiopia. And that's where things kind of get creepy. It's kind of like the reverse of what the United States and China is doing right now. So I'm not sure about that, especially with, how many things have been getting hacked through bridges and CVEs in blockchains themselves and in smart contracts and things. This is something that might easily blow up in their face in the future, but it'll be interesting to see how this progresses and how it goes. One thing I do have to shout out, because this literally happened last year and is about to happen next month, is the Blockchain in Africa conference. I want to shout it out, and we're going to kind of go back to it because, this just sounds like one of those big blockchain conferences that you have in every country. But we're going to loop back to this at the end because this kind of ties into kind of the weird dark side, the sad dark side of the reality of cryptocurrency and blockchain tech in Africa, despite a lot of the good stuff I've been saying. And speaking of things that are not quite good stuff and not bad stuff, they're just really weird, I want to introduce you to something that, as one of the two final things, I want to introduce you to something that won an award when it came out in late 2021. It got like seed funding by the Egyptian government because they won a prize for this and everything. That is now a thing. And I'm going to play a video about this platform, and then we're going to do a mini deep dive into what it is, because it's honestly on here, I think, is the weirdest thing that is not a direct scam, okay? And yeah, check this out.
You got me running. Oh, there you are. If you're here watching this, then it means, just like me, you've subscribed for data. Yeah, right. Staying connected to the internet has become an essential part of our everyday lives. And so, we're constantly spending money on data. But what if I told you that there is now a new way to not only use your internet data, but also to make money from it? Aha! Introducing Ycrypt, a data sharing platform that helps you easily set up your hotspot network and earn money from it. How cool is that? With Ycrypt, you can allow family, friends, customers, and guests to easily connect to your internet, bill them any amount of your choice, and even track the volume of data they have consumed. In addition, you can manage their bandwidth by allocating a cap for data usage or a time limit. And if you're a business owner, you can also run adverts and get customer feedback on your Ycrypt network. Super convenient if you ask me. Now that I have your full attention, let's get started. First, go to your Google Play Store or App Store, search for Ycrypt, then download and install the app for free. Sign up on the Ycrypt app and you're set to begin. You can also sign up via the web by visiting www.ycrypt.com and entering your details. Now, you're signed up. Next, sign into your Ycrypt account, enter the rate you wish to bill your connected users, configure your Wi-Fi and hotspot settings in a few simple steps, and you're ready to start earning money from your data. To connect to your hotspot network, users have to fund their Ycrypt wallet with enough Ycrypt credits. As they use your connection, they get debited, while your wallet gets credited according to your billing rates. And still, that's not all. When you share your hotspot, you earn loyalty points, and they come as Ycrypt tokens. Your Ycrypt tokens come bearing gifts such as discounts on connections, payment for subscription, payment for ads on the network, and so much more. So, are you ready to do more with your data? Then, download the Ycrypt app now. Sign up, set up your hotspot, and start earning money from it.
So yeah, that is just friggin' weird, isn't it? Just the descriptor sentence is weird alone. So, bit of rewinding back to like the roots of M-pesa and stuff. Africa, like East Asia, and South America is very mobile centric. A lot of Western Europe, parts of Eastern Europe, and especially the United States and Canada, while all of us have smartphones, a lot of us still use, to some degree, laptops. A lot of us still have giant desktops. Even work machines with computers are often desktops. There's still a grounded level of the internet. We still have this thinking of plugging into something, right? But in many African nations, their first introduction to more advanced computing tech was smartphones, cell phones, wireless means, small portable means of communication. Hence why M-pesa took off. Phone number, cell phone, send stuff. So not only are Wi-Fi routing hotspots, especially public Wi-Fi, is a huge deal in Africa, especially in African cities, but for cheap apartments and remote villages, having a portable Wi-Fi hotspot, huge down there. It's kind of like the craziness with Afghanistan because they don't have a unified power grid. This is true. You can look this up. Most villages and huge parts of Afghanistan still run on car batteries. And they've literally reconfigured all of their voltage and technology that they use, where you basically there's a car battery rental shop, and they make a ton of money, and you go out and you rent a car battery and you use it to literally power your home. So you connect your fridge to it, your stove to it, the lights to it at night, things like that. And then you go back to the station, either get a new battery or recharge it, and you pay for that. It's kind of like that, but here we're just Wi-Fi and wireless internet access is a way bigger deal than is the United States and many African nations. And you can see why with things like M-pesa and the type of businesses that they do. So eventually, as someone came up with and won an award with for Egypt that made it a full product here, you have Ycrypt, which is you generate crypto tokens that then you can exchange for fiat currency And the whole proof of work and proof of stake we covered way early on Crypto Barons, where it's like you basically do a thing and that's how you mine more coins. The way you mine it is the usage of your hotspot. So, whether you like run a cafe and you have your own Wi-Fi hotspot in like Ethiopia or Tanzania, or Morocco, or you have like a mobile hotspot in your village in the Congo, or your town in South Africa, you can make essentially a side hustle in crypto by when people use your hotspot and you're sharing it around your neighborhood or your village, or you're using it in your store or business, it will generate tokens from that. And basically you set up an account there and you do a whole interface, and once you ID it together, it puts that ID with it on the blockchain. You basically proof of, I don't know what it's called, proof of signal or something, proof of Wi-Fi, I don't know what it is, and you start generating YCrypt tokens, or WNT rewards. And there's a number of devices. Not only can you configure your current device, but they also have devices that are automatically equipped with the YCrypt network token. Has all the interface and set up, so you can just put it online in your coffee shop or in your bookstore or your supermarket, and it'll just, once you link it to your account, it will automatically do everything without having to configure the actual router itself. Wow, they are really detecting all the CVEs right now, these security kittens. But yeah, it's weird, it's scrupulous. This is an actual thing, so this is not a full-on scam. People do use this, and they do it. Although, to be fair, if we do look over at CoinMarketCap, not doing that hot right now. And to be fair, I mean, well, this changed. It's literally jumping up and down all over the place. Right now, it's in a death spiral for some reason. Although, if you look back, I think like a couple of months, it constantly does that. It's like death spirals, and it gets really healthy, and then it death spirals again. It's pretty nuts like that, Like you can see it here. Look at that big one, and then does like that all the time. But this is an actual thing. Although I haven't clicked on the shop now. Actually, let's click on the token real first, and then I'm going to go back to the devices, and then we're going to wrap up this episode here. Yeah, and you can independently stake these tokens. You mint it. You can mint tokens on Outlier to the Outlier NFTs, but you mainly generate by people using your network. That's how you do it. And there's this whole network overview of how all the resources works. The Wi-Fi hotspot. You have the clients here, and it stakes and everything. So yeah, this is YCrypt. It's pretty crazy. If you want to know more about it, there is a white paper that has the abstract and everything. I'm going to go copy that and post it in the chat. And also just to remind once again that if you do like the stuff that you see, if you're on Twitch or YouTube, follow us completely for free on there. Subscribe to us completely free on there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you also click that bell and turn on all notifications, because YouTube sucks and they don't do that by default. Even though we don't get notifications for those, we are also on recently the blockchain-based Odyssey. We're on the decentralized dio.zone instance of PeerTube, and you can also watch us completely anonymously through Invidus on Tor. So that's all there. I'm just curious. I'm going to click the shop now and see what sort of routers. I would love... Okay, so Lynx and Spider routers. I'm thinking about one day, like when I have proper mailbox and everything set up, that I could order one of these and kind of like dissect one maybe for like a circuit breaker that ties into Crypto Barons, which we're going to be doing more of in the summer later this year. We're going to have physical hardware, and like I'll talk about a thing on Crypto Barons, and then the following circuit breakers, we're going to look at the actual device and break it apart and try to run it and like reverse engineer the code on it and things like that. So this might be something I will look into. Oh, they have like device guides too. Just curious here. I know they're all PDFs. And hopefully I don't tax the machine too much. Just double checking here. Yeah, we're still good with this. Device 5 feet charger and cable. The SIM card is very important with all of these, by the way. Just seeing what's here. The battery's charged on it, SIM card. Pretty basic stuff, if I may say so myself. So there's all of that. Now, I said before this is the second weirdest project, because the final project that we're going to get to that's going to kind of tie to the ending of this is something that, do I even have to tell you this is a scam? You know, it's one of those things where you should look at it. I think everyone should have looked this back in the day and be like, even if it wasn't a scam, this is some bullshit. This is just some pie in the sky thing that is definitely never going to happen. But no one did, simply because that's what happens, unfortunately. Kind of like what happened with Crypto.com, when you attach base-ass celebrities to things. And this is known as a coin. Not just a coin, like A space C-I-O-N. This is A-K-O-I-N. And it's not coin, not K-O-I-N because it's like a Mortal Kombat spelling or because of some Yiddish thing. It's because of who invented this and invested in this. This is done by famous rapper Akon, someone who I could give, honestly, less than a shit about. I'm not the biggest fan of rap. I do listen to rap occasionally. There's a bunch of rap artists that I like. None of them are recent ones, by the way. Because, for example, fuck you, Travis Scott, for Astro World and all those people who died. But I only know Akon because they're dead serious, weird off tangent. There is a weird but satisfying remix of, I believe it's called Arab Money. Yeah, Arab Money by Busta Rhymes, because I'm old as shit. There's like a sequel to that where they bring on a bunch of guest artists, and Akon is one of those. I'm also familiar with Akon because I'm pretty sure, I don't remember what song, but he one time probably collaborated with The Lonely Island, just like Nicki Minaj and Michael Bolton and stuff have also done, and I like their comedy music when they do make them. So that's why I know who the hell Akon is. It's the only reason why I know. And so Akon had this thing where he wants to make, which is a constant thing that you will see in crypto, especially now, cryptocurrency, and most of these are scams, is he wants to make a Pan-African coin, something that's traded on the global market, but the general idea is that this will be used in Africa for Africans. And that's already kind of, okay, yeah, and it's like, oh, you have social impact because it's helping Africans. And, you know, again, when I give you the education of how Africans are using m-pesa and how they're using even terrible things like Bitcoin and their own stuff, tracking blood, doing ID systems, do we really need an American brother to come in and help Africa in this way? Especially where it's like, to be honest, Akon, you are worth multi-millions of dollars. I think you'd make a better impact by just donating a lot of those millions of dollars directly to things like, you know, water and power infrastructure, and maybe financing some politicians that aren't corrupt, and maybe financing the security for them so that their dictator rivals don't kill them, or the CIA kills them, whoever comes first, probably both. Things like that. That's probably honestly more important things that you could do, Akon. This is always why I'm always skeptical when big celebrities do charities, because unless they're gonna like match check it, which as much as I give her shit for, J.K. Rowling apparently does, and that's the only one good thing that she does. Unless they're gonna do that, or like physically go out and do like actual activism, this is kind of all bullshit. Or, like I said, donate. Akon, you probably have a lot of crypto, as I just posted in chat. There's water wells for Africa, which you guys watching at home, you blocks, Genesis and trying to remember what I call it, because I know it's key pins and driver pins for master blocking. What do I call the crypto people? You hashes and blocks out there can donate your cryptocurrency. Popular ones like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Doge, Monero, or very super obscure ones that are not shit coins but are not popular ones. They support like over 50 of them. You donate them directly to charities. And Water Wells for Africa gets opportunities for Africans for water, sustainable water, as well as sanitizing water, just anything to give people good drinking water, because we already have that problem in the United States. Never mind us. You can donate that because apparently Akon is not either. But that's not even what makes Acoin weird is. And this is actually the original reason why I want to do this episode, because I was originally going to just do an entire episode about this. And there's just so much cool stuff with Africa crypto stuff that's more deserving than this, that's why I lumped it in here. But as it says, Africa has over 40 currencies across 54 countries, each struggling with a level of inflation and stability. Looking at you, Zimbabwe, that makes growing business with continent international dealing extremely difficult, which is why most, by the way, default to either like the pound or yuan, or more commonly the United States dollar, while also creating. That's weird. There's a spelling mistake there. It's a run-on sentence, and also I guess there was supposed to be a period at the end of difficult, and then it was supposed to be capital W, and they forgot the period, or they fucked up. While also creating massive roadblocks for entrepreneurs who want to learn, earn, spend, and save, which is kind of weird because again, I just showed a bunch of actual African entrepreneurs in Africa who are coming up with crazy stuff like YCrypt and are doing just fine, to be honest, without you, Akon. Through Acoin, one currency powers a digital suit for business, building tools and services to unite the people of Africa and connect them the world rated. What frustrates me about this is that here's a saying that should be on more shirts and banners and stuff. There's a reason why this entire episode, and I'm going to get to the weirdest part of this whole thing in a moment, but I need to get this out of the way because it's not obviously like well-off, privileged white people do this, especially in, Western nations. But even black people in Western nations do this. And it's really annoying. And it's weird because I feel like our Caribbean cousins don't have this problem, but Americans, British black people, American black people, Canadian blacks have this problem. And it's the Drew Carey problem. The joke there is, Drew Carey problem is, there was an episode of Whose Lines Anyway, which really ages me, like back when he was running it, where they was making like jokes about Africa. There were good ones too. And he said by accident, Africa's a really interesting country. And Greg Proops roasted him right there and said, it's also a great continent if you actually know geography, Drew. And Drew like facepalm, because there's always these running jokes where Drew Carey fucks up, and then that becomes the running joke of the episode. He apologized, of course, instantly, because he like literally facepalmed. He's like, oh god, and because one, he fucked up and he apologized, but two, he knows it's gonna be the running joke, and it was like they did a book title poll once, and the fake book title, one of them was The Difference Between Continents and Countries. Like, it was just great. But that's a problem that Western people, even black Western people, run into in the diaspora, which is, we keep saying, unite the people of Africa, one Africa and stuff. And while there is definitely a very base level, besides just living in the continent, of sharing an identity in Africa, a Pan-African identity. And in fact, there is an actual, like the same way there's like the European Union, there is an African Union that's all about this. But what I'm trying to say here is, the reason why I keep saying African continent and countries in Africa is because Africa is not one giant monolithic place. Africa, the entirety of Africa is not black people in animal skins and face paint with elephants and leopards in the savannah. Like, that is a chunk of Africa. That's like when people say America. I've seen this in other countries. They say America, and what they think is American is a blonde white person with a cowboy hat eating a burger holding a gun. Now, that's definitely true in the poor-ass parts of Texas and Florida, but that's not the entire American nation. There is more variety in that. In fact, there's more variety in just the Midwest alone, never mind the coastlines, because America is on the continent of North America, and it's huge, and so there's tons of variety. Same thing with China. Same thing with Brazil. Africa as a continent is definitely that. there were so many goddamn tribes, so many different religions and customs and languages. And the only reason why I say African countries is because those borderlines were made by the European colonizers. So that even using the countries themselves are injustice because that was white Europeans just making up where lines were, which totally fucked places over that had, like, they were just putting tribes together that weren't supposed to go together and stuff like that. But that's why I keep saying African continent because, while there is a nice thing of Pan-Africanism and unity at a base, we have to remind ourselves that Africa is a very diverse continent with so many different peoples and customs and tribes and religions and all of that. Part of the reasons why we don't think of that is because of what happened with the African diaspora. Because with the slave trade, the Africans that were enslaved and traded were basically wiped, not only physically removed from their homelands, but were wiped of their history and customs of that homeland. We do see traces of it in America. In fact, there's huge-ass studies of kind of reverse engineering of, like, things that we got from Yoruba religion. Here's a cool fact. Did you know that a lot of old African-American Ebonics actually come from various West African languages types? So it's not direct translations, but like words like jive and like dig, like you dig, even though they are based on English words, the pronunciations and the use of the slang is actually the very end last remnants of the language structures that you see in West Africa, which you can actually notice if you go and watch Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, because I forget what language they use, but they use a very prominent West African language that most of the slaves that were transported were using that language system. And so funny enough, a huge part of base African American vernacular and Ebonics, which they're also variants of in the United States alone, come from that language system. So that's what I mean about it was like literally beaten out of us, diaspora in America, in the UK, any place that had a slave trade that was done. And that's where Pan-Africanism and the diaspora grew, because we literally we know we're from Africa. Now we know we're probably from West Africa, a lot of us, but we can't be like, oh, we're Tutsi American, or we're Bantu American, or Twasali American. We're just African American because we're so interbred and we were so erased, we don't know where we come from. And unfortunately, there's kind of a rift between the different types of Africans in Africa, America, the Caribbean, etc. But this is where that concept, particularly with Western Africans that aren't the Caribbean, comes from when we look at Africa itself, because since we had to identify under Pan-Africanism, we think it's the same thing in Africa. And that's definitely not true. They know exactly where they come from. So just putting that out there. But let's get into, to finish off this episode, and I want to finish by like 1:30-ish, the legit weirdest part about this. It's not just that Akon, the music rap celebrity, is making his own coin, and he's trying to give it back to Africa with Pan-African. That's already just weird. Here's the weird part. Is fucking Akon City. When he initially proposed this, he not only wants the blockchain of cryptocurrency to be a thing, he wants to use the blockchain to run, he basically wants to build an actual city, and a smart city, eco-sustainable smart city in Senegal, Africa, and have the blockchains and the smart contracts that run Acoin run the infrastructure of that city. Bad idea, number one. And two, have the Acoin token be the actual de facto currency of Akon City in Senegal, Africa. God, I wish this was alcohol I was drinking, because an entire city. Like, if you think that like the weird projects that the Saudis and Dubaians and other the other Middle Eastern people come up with their just insane projects that never get off the ground. Yeah, the city, wow. Just wow. Let's look at the white paper. Let's see if we can look at the white paper for this. This is really comes out as its own file. Okay, that was where I had to download it first. Usually it just loads in browser, whatever. Look at this fancy white paper. The city. Is there a chapter on the city, or is it just the coin? Okay. Token sale, Akon use cases, business model, public token, roadmap, Akon platform. I don't see anything about the city, but we can flip through things, I guess. The mobile economy, app economy, decentralized apps, market overview, platform overview, uses atomic swap. Very business-oriented things here. Technology overview. Let's see. Icon tokens based on cellular consensus protocol or SCP, not to be confused with like the SCP toilets and ice cream trucks and IKEAs and things like that. Acon's just partnered with Stellar, which is another currency I wanted to cover in the future, due to the Stellar Anchor Network, the superior. It also shows you how old this project is, by the way, that they're using Stellar as its main base. The superior speed of transactions on the network through 5 seconds. Confirm a transaction, which would be considered slow today, by the way. Increased liquidity in the Stellar DEX and our shared vision of inclusion. There's a link for that, but I'm not going to bother to click on it. Apps Hub. Cash in, cash out, transaction overflow, Acon use cases. So it was like 2 pages of like tech, and that was it. But what was that? M-Whale technology, using M-Medical and Technological City sole currency for that, versioning tech hub in Kenya. Acon will see 1 million of 1 million. So I guess they're gonna try test run it with this tech hub in Kenya, and then they want to do like full ass on city, which just blows my mind. I wish I got a video of the city, because there's like this insane like CGI pitch of what Acon City is supposed to look like. But we're going to see this piece of it, because in 1 second here we're going to look at a video that is going to be talking about that city and where it came from. It's a long video, but we're only going to look at one small portion of it, because like I mean, they've been talking around of like blockchain-based cities, but this is like just wow, and named after the rapper in it. It's just crazy. So speaking of which, I'm gonna have to load it up right now. Let's look at that final video. We're gonna skip around and find the chunk. We're gonna look at kind of Acon City, a little bit of what it looks like, and why it's probably a scam, because you're gonna see what it looks like today, and it's really funny and sad at the same time. So let's find out what happened to this mythical Acon City.
And let's start off with that, because last time you were here, you're saying that Acon City was supposed to open in 2026.
Yeah.
But then COVID hit and...
Right.
So where is Acon City at right now?
We're still on track.
Aliun Damala Badara Acon Theum, famously known as... Here's like the main hub of Acon City, right? And then conveniently connected to it is the African Culture Village by this land bridge, except it looks like there's some holes. You might want to get that patched up.
It looks like real
the
life
last thing you
Wakanda.
want is residents
so
of Acon City
weird.
falling into the abyss while they're just trying to learn some history. And then above it,
honestly
you can't
also
even click
looks
on
like
this
a lot
zone.
of the
Maybe we
type
haven't
of weird
progressed
city
far enough in the
infrastructure
Acon
stuff
City
that,
Battle Pass, or maybe we got to reach a higher level.
Saudi
I'm
Arabia and
curious,
other
what's
Middle
going on
Eastern
up here?
countries
The
pitched.
last thing I want to find out is that this
too
is where the
clean.
blood sacrifices
It
happened
makes no
after I
actual-
bought my
it doesn't
virtual
look like
ticket.
real people
According to
live there,
Acon
'cause they don't-
City, all phases of construction will be done in 2029. There are 2 phases in total. Supposedly, phase 1 of Acon City should be finished relatively soon by 2026, allowing thousands of tourists to come and relax, see the sights, eat some food, and vibe
Also,
out.
same
They
problem
intend
that
to
a lot
have
of Middle
roads,
Eastern
hotels,
countries have.
malls, a hospital, police
This
station,
is
school,
obviously going
waste
to be for
facility,
like
and a
the
solar
rich and
power
super
plant,
rich.
all finished
You're
by
not going to have.
2026,
There might be normal
which is
people
interesting
living in
because
the
that's
outskirts
quite
of
a lot to
nearby that do
undertake
like
in 3
the
years.
laundry and
phase
stuff
2,
like that.
the final phase,
If it's not
is
fully
set
automated,
to be done by 2029.
but
It's
yeah,
assumed
it's
that
like,
this phase would include
this
housing,
is for rich
offices,
tourists.
maybe
That's
some
how they plan on
restaurants,
getting that
more
money,
amenities,
that
and
pump
of
and dump
course,
money.
they also have a
This
hair
is
treatment
not a
center,
city
which is why
city.
today's video is sponsored by Keeps. Keeps
And
is
this
a
is where I skip.
subscription. Surprising that the Senegalese government is even on board with this, guaranteeing the city will bring in tourists and investors, and giving all those
Again,
that
see
go
that quick rich
tax
money.
breaks.
This is
Doesn't sound
red
all too
flags
bad
of,
after
like,
all. And this whole
even if it's not a
Acon City
scam of, like,
fiasco became
pie in
such a
the
big
sky
deal that there are even
bullshit.
plans to create a second Acon City in Uganda. However, there was just one problem that no one saw coming. C-19. This halted production for a bit, and Acon at one point blamed
All right,
C-19
skip
for
forward
pushing
and we're gonna
everything
see
back.
where this
However,
city
later he
stands
contradicted
today, 'cause
himself,
this is gonna be
saying
funny
that
and really
things were actually on track. Stone. The scaffolding How about some orange cones? No. How about a single stone? The following clips are from YouTube channel TD Hip Hop Media on their video Akon City, Senegal is in shambles, nothing but dust.
Let's go to a year later in 2022. Oh man, goddamn. It's dust with cinder blocks. Why they got the cinder blocks over there? I think somebody was low-key hating. They just put the cinder blocks there just to be bogus. What I'm gonna show you right now is a current photo of Akon City, okay? Boom. What happened, Akon? What happened? They even stole the cinder blocks. They said, well, let me put these cinder blocks to good use right quick, because Akon City ain't popping anytime soon. This is horrible. My goodness.
So Akon placed a single Minecraft block and walked away. Job done. Funny enough, in a BBC News article, Akon admitted to wanting to retire here. He even went on to say, I don't like to use the word king of the city, but that's what it will turn out to be. I mean, the place is called Akon City, what did anyone expect? And I'm starting to think I was right about this being a narcissist's midlife crisis. The icing on the cake is the fact that Akon believes the central currency of his city, wait for it, should be his own cryptocurrency, Acoin.
And the whole thing is going to be run off Acoin?
That's
the
cryptocurrency? Yeah, the cryptocurrency, Acoin. You could say the city's financial infrastructure would be built off the Acoin platform.
Yeah.
But the controversy doesn't end here. Akon took full responsibility for the poorly managed start to his city, but that didn't save him.
People sometimes will write articles about, oh, this is not going to happen. Something like this could never happen in Africa. It's been 2 years. The construction hasn't started. I hear that all the time. We're building a city. You don't build a city in 24 hours.
They literally say Rome was not built in a day.
But if you don't have the knowledge to understand that you have to do feasibility studies, you have to do environmental studies, like it's all kind of studies just before you put a building that's going to be 120 feet in the air in one swat. What makes you think that area right there could even hold that kind of weight? It takes research for that. And all that has to be done first before you can even think to even create a master plan for construction. But if you don't know that, you think it's just all talk and trash and marketing.
A previous business partner accused Akon of planning to run his city like a Ponzi scheme. These accusations were made by Devin Stevens, a music executive in the United States who filed a $4 million lawsuit against Akon and requested a court to freeze Akon's assets. Stevens' lawyer described Akon City as, quote, broken promises with almost no transparency about who is investing or how it will be purportedly built. Therefore, Akon City is likely a scam. If you don't believe a U.S. attorney, then maybe you'll believe a retired federal agent, Scott Thomason, who investigated Akon City. He concluded that the city contained, quote, many of the trademark characteristics or red flags of fraudulent business ventures, such as Ponzi and pyramid schemes. Akon's
So, yeah. That's Akon City. Now, to be fair, since it is going to be built on blockchain, it does make sense that the initial start of the city is literally a goddamn block in the middle of nowhere. One Minecraft block. That's just one loot box. That's just hilarious. And again, apparently they either broke that block recently or someone stole it and they had to put a new center block. Just craziness. And this sort of ties into how we're going to end the episode here, which is that I'm going to jump back to that blockchain conference. Yeah, the Blockchain in Africa conference. There's going to be a new one on March 16, and I will tell you right now, I'm not, unlike Polkadot Decoded and some of the other past things where we covered it, I am not covering this. I am not covering this at all. You can go on YouTube and you can find videos of last year's. And you're going to see why. Because even though this is the Blockchain in Africa conference, and usually when things are labeled blockchain, it's usually supposed to be about the tech of the blockchain. So even if there's business people there, you usually often have engineers there and things like that, explaining in general how the tech works. That's not even at this conference. And what's even worse is that it's not even concrete business. Pun unintentional, but really worth it because we just talked about Akon City with its one block of concrete. But they don't even have solid business plans. all the reporting from it, which is just regurgitated PR stuff that from this conference, you'll see in these videos, it's all about the future. They're talking about things that could happen instead of things that they're doing. It's not like they're doing things and then they're like, oh, we would like to get here. There's nothing there. Even if they're part of an existing thing like Ethereum or fucking Jack from Twitter who was there last year, it's all just pie in the sky stuff. Like even if they're not pushing scams and they believe in this, there's just this stuff that it just exists in a mind render. There's no tangibility. And this feeds into the dark side of this. Because the light side of this is stuff that we've seen with M-pesa, which, yes, M-pesa is not perfect. But this was a thing where local people in the continent of Africa saw a bunch of problems and then combined the tech savviness with the business savviness with cheap, affordable, readily available resources that people already have to solve a major problem. Almost everyone in Africa, at least one person that someone knows, has a phone of some sort. Maybe it's not the most advanced phone, probably just dials numbers and plays Snake like the first cell phone that I had when I was in middle school. But they have one. And as long as you had that and your government ID that everyone's issued at birth in your nation, even if you live on a mountaintop in Tanzania, you're good. You can send money and trade money. You don't need a bank account. You don't need fingerprints. You can do that. And that's why this took off. This is what helped those Africans in their place. And the people that did this made money. The people involved are making money and trading money. And it just solved the huge problem. You have developer interests that are making all these different development API tools and code in order for things to work. This is what blockchain and cryptocurrency in Africa should be. Again, it's like the blood tracking thing. Hell, I would even say that the YCrypt, as fucking weird as it is, again, running for a couple of years, people do this and it works and they earn stuff from it. This is from local Africans taking available resources. Businesses have routers. People have Wi-Fi hotspots. All they had to do was take their tech knowledge and make the code that then does this. But that's not what we're seeing in Africa. What we're seeing instead is like what happened with China in Africa. You probably all remember that in the mid to late 2000s up until now, China did this whole thing where they wanted to look like the good guys and look better than the terrible Americans that used the CIA to screw various African nations over. And they were going to invest in infrastructure in China with the idea that it would return. That's how it was pitched, return back. And China did all sorts of propaganda for this. Did you ever notice that literally from like, I want to say 2013 to 2018, I want to say, like a good like 5 to 8 years, every single global Chinese movie, it was like all Chinese cast, and then there would either be like black Africans, not African Americans, or even African Chinese, which do exist, black Africans from Africa, or involving being in Africa. Like that was the thing. They pushed Black Panther really hard when it came out, by the way, in China. It's not just Disney. The Chinese government pushed that movie. There's like these whole patriotic military movies where two of them, particularly the second movie, involves them helping a poor African nation, and like all the Africans just love the Chinese military for helping them out. You saw shit like that. You don't see that anymore, by the way. And there's a reason for that. Because just like the European colonizers before them, what China was actually doing was proving how first world they are, just like those European colonizers, and they strip mine the place. The nations that are involved with the Chinese infrastructure programs that they were doing are worse off now. And in fact, a lot of their business decisions, whether they're being more warlordistic for bad or doing independent economic growth, actual growth that's good, is a result from China using their business and legal means to strip mine the place. And African nations called them out, especially like Nigeria and Rwanda, were like, yeah, you guys are basically Britain Part 2. That's what you did. Instead of trying to and the weird part is that Hong Kong and parts of China used to have been colonized by the UK, and they learned all the wrong lessons. Instead of being like, oh wow, the British were awful, we should be better than them, they went, oh, they're awful, and they're the gold standard, and they were like number one, and they were awful. In order to be number one, we need to be as bad as they are. And that's what happened. And so what you're seeing here is a lot of the stuff that I haven't covered, or only covered in pieces of, like that blockchain summit, is what you're seeing in Africa, where big existing organizations, Binance and Crypto.com and CoinMarketCap and all the snake oil salesmen you see in America, all their stuff is failing here. I draw a lot of parallels between what's going on with crypto in Africa and the same exact thing that went on in the early to mid 2000s with Christianity in Africa, where, I mean, it's changed now, but where we're still a lot very atheistic in the United States. There's a huge chunk of atheist, agnostic people, and it still grows despite Supreme Court and rah-rah mega churches and Bible protests. And atheism and agnosticism is still expanding. Non-believers are still growing. And what a lot of these Christian institutions did was, instead of, figuring out, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I just realized there's a security change that happens during a certain time, and I have to adjust. That's probably why the security cats were meowing. I was the threat the entire time. Yay! But no. So basically, what they ended up doing is they took all their bullshit in my country, and they moved it to various African nations. And, for example, a lot of the anti-LGBT stuff that was going on back then, unlike today, had almost no holding in the United States anymore. Even in like red states, it was falling apart. And there's a really amazing documentary that you can watch called God Loves Uganda. I consider it the most terrifying horror movie that was ever made because it's real. And it's a documentary about Christian missionaries in Uganda and how these white, waspy megachurches took all their bullshit and all of their legal fuckery that doesn't work in the United States even today, and they went to Uganda, where they were not told that these people are insane. Even if you are Christian, the Christians think these people are insane and dangerous, and they bought them wholesale, because it's like smallpox when brought to the indigenous people of America. They were never introduced to it. And so Christianity, the bad parts, the megachurch greedy parts, exploded in Uganda and other parts of Africa, and it caused really bad damage to the people there in all forms, even the existing Christians there. And that's what's happening in the blockchain world, is you're having these big institutions, most of them are white or Chinese led, who are going into Africa. And so instead of African people taking the open source stuff that Satoshi made and making their own unique solutions from the ground up, you have these big institutions like Binance and stuff investing in Africa and doing their Ponzi schemes and their snake oil salesman stuff. And unlike America, where you can see little glimmers of originality and actual like engineering work in blockchain, it's almost all snake oil stuff that's not from the ground up there, like with the examples I brought up before. And so they're doing basically sort of blockchain colonialism. This is like the third. They already went through Europeans, and then they went through the Chinese, and now they're going through crypto bros. And it's already causing major problems because, for example, as I'm going to show in these articles, FTX was a huge thing in many African nations. There was a lot of startups that were built on FTX. A big, like Nestcoin and stuff like that. A lot of Web3 was in Africa under FTX. FTX really, a lot of their growth was funded with stuff in Africa up until very recently. As it says here, they promised students, there was a lot of like education investing, and so they promised students up to 40% commissions for getting their friends trading. And then FTX goes under, and they brought all of these people who are already not financially well off to begin with, as an understatement. Tesla's down, yay. And Netflix, yay, they're down. And Spotify, yay, everything is down that I hate. Microsoft, yay. Sorry, I digress. Dow Jones is the worst. Because Con Edison wasn't listed. But it's bad enough when, if FTX screws over crypto bros, I don't care. But it's already bad enough when good to do Americans who just thought they were investing something like the way you invest in a soybean future, or I don't know, a college or something. Just something where it's like, hey, I make 5 figures now. I'm not rich, but I have money. I want to put something in that and see where it goes. I'm not a major business guy too. It's already bad that they did this to FTX and screwed everyone over, just normal, hardworking people. But they screwed over a ton of people in Africa who they were basically buying a lotto ticket. They were on their worst luck, and this was the last thing that they had. And because our government backed it and our financial institutions backed FTX, they were like, oh, this must be actually legit. And then they fell apart and they dragged everyone with them. So these people already were poor, and now they're even poorer because of Sam Bankman. I really, honestly, I'm not one for the death penalty, but I would only I'll put it this way. I don't want Sam Bankman to have the death penalty. I would only do the death penalty if we could guarantee to bring him back to life so we can kill him and revive him and kill him over and over again. Just portal his ass, just. And he's not the only one. There's going to be a lot of snake oil salesmen who are now going to get their comeuppance. And as one video I watched, by the way, with FTX said, I don't think FTX killed crypto, but it definitely killed any momentum and any goodwill that any of the legitimate few blockchain projects did progress with. So, yeah. Another way FTX screwed everyone over. Fuck you, Sam Bankman-Fried. So, I don't want to end fully on a negative thing. So I do want to talk about one last thing, and then we'll end it. So I guess we're ending around 2, or slightly before that. So Nigeria. So similar to China and a bunch of other nations, and soon to be the United States, as I keep saying, there is a lot of countries, and Tanzania was actually the first country to do this, started to crack down on cryptocurrencies. And Nigeria did the 1-2 punch that China did before even. It's actually a theory that this is where China was inspired by, even though they were saying they were going to do this. Nigeria pulled the trigger on this, where they basically banned almost all cryptocurrencies. And it was amazing because Nigeria, similar to China, was the cryptocurrency hub of not just Africa, but the entire world. It was United States, United States, China, trying to remember, United States, China, Portugal, and Nigeria. It was insane. That's how they ranked. And they did the thing that I covered with China, where they cracked down on all the cryptocurrencies and introduced what they call the Naira. Now, if I understand, Naira is the name of the actual currency in Nigeria. So the Naira, just like the Iremimi, aka the Yuan, which is probably where they got the name from. So don't you love it when China, they just take stuff from black Africans and then pretend they invented it, Again, colonialist part 2. The Naira is the same thing as the Yuan. In fact, it's the OG, where it is the digital version of their fiat Naira. And you can buy, trade, and it works very similar. See, we're going to bring it full circle to m-pesa, where you download the app. You don't really need to do much. You just need to have your ID, make a username and password. It's already connected to your bank. You can just start sending and trading money. And it is all the Naira counts as physical Naira and vice versa. And as I keep saying, eventually, it's going to take a while, but the United States, it's going to do the same thing. Even if the United States opts to do an actual cryptocurrency, an actual stable coin by the United States government, they're going to do that and then cut all the cryptocurrencies out, because this is the real future we're heading to. Again, as I keep telling the people at Crypto Mondays, which if you're going to go Monday, I'm probably going to be there. You want crypto to be popular, you're doing a race to normalcy. And the world of finance, the actual future for crypto, besides eventually outlier rebel cryptocurrencies, is that all the fiat systems are going to make their own crypto based on their fiat money and then squeeze all the previous independent cryptocurrencies out and blockchain tech out. And that's the inevitable future. And we're already starting to see it. And just like how Nigeria and Africa were the first nations in the world to do true digital money, Nigeria is the first nation in the world, or one of them. I think they are the first nation to do an entire digital version of their currency. Not credit, not digital banking like we do with Chase and Bank of America, but digital currency. They even show a smartwatch here. So, so basically, Inaria has the same exact problem that I had with EUON, where it's not open source because it's from the bank, so I can't see the source code. So even though we looked at a couple of GitHubs, we always try to do this tech focus, and because there wasn't that much tech, let's do a repeat of the Yuan episode, and let's see if we can reverse engineer the APK for their wallet, since they don't offer any code. So this is the last thing we're going to do here, and again, it's been a while, and I've only done this a couple of times, so I'm a little rusty, but let's get to it. So let's see if I can do this correctly. So first of all, I need to let me switch keyboards. CD down to the actual program because it's in the C drive on the machine, and I have to do the platform here first. So if I remember correctly, so first of all, I'm just going to run APK tool just to make sure. Yep, it's all there. Good. So now we're going to do APK tool D, and I'm going to copy pasta. Worst comes to worst, I'll just copy the file over, but I should be able to copy pasta the pathway to hold on, to where it's located and do this. So let me try this. So properties. Let's see, I should be able to just do a whole oh, I see why. All right, so I do. Okay, I have to do this. So give me a second here. I'm going to copy this to my C. This should work. Continue. All right, so it's copied over. So I should just be able to type the name of the APK and it should run. So hang on. Make sure I have this here. Okay, so APK tool D, and then it should be E. Naira. Sorry, no, I spelled it wrong. Hang on. NAIRA -1.1.1 APK, and this should tear it apart. And like I said, this is really a lot of hacking. It's just waiting for things to load. So right now, the APK tool is taking this whole thing apart, like it did during the EUON thing, and then we're going to look for the Java code itself in the JDX file once this is done, and it's done. So if I did everything correctly, we should be able to load the so let me just, because I'm trying to remember the name of the application. Let's give it a moment here. I thought it was JADX. Hang on. Okay, so because we're not going to make the same mistake that we did last time. Here we go. Releases, because I just need to see what the name of it is. JADX GUI. Yes, here it is. All right, so hold on. Should just be an exe here. What the hell's going on? All right, hold on. I want it run now. Hang on. Give me a second. I'm gonna install it again. I thought it installed in I thought we did this last time, and so it should be on the machine, but maybe I guess not. Run anyhow. Okay, so for some reason, okay, I see. So it was in the downloads, and then didn't happen, but we have it open. So now I'm going to switch over to hopefully should be in here. Let me figure it out. Okay, so we have it now. We just move things over. Also, I remember this. This is the one where I have to do the weird thing where I'm going to basically take over most of the screen, so I apologize here. But we are going to open it, so open file. So look in. All right, so PC, system C. Here it is. So if everything went right, we should be able to actually see the source code for it because we just reverse engineered this thanks to the APK tool. It's going to probably take a couple of seconds to a minute. All right, so here is, yet again, we're looking at another wallet done by a centralized banking system for their non-crypto digital currency. And here it all is. Very similar to the e-yuan one. I don't know how much of it is similar because this is just how you have to build a decentralized, a banking wallet system. Or I wonder how much of it either China was inspired by, aka stole, or how much of it is maybe they actually collaborated. That could be a thing. They might have actually collaborated making this, so maybe that's why the wallets look so similar. Let's look at the core. At the database. It's using SQLite. It's using the Christian SQL service. So, yeah, that fits with Nigeria. There's a lot of Christians in Nigeria. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Let's go back because I want to see the build compatibility. So yeah, it's just class declare. But yeah, this telephony. So this is, once again, this is a wallet that should be open source, but it's not. So we had to reverse engineer it to make it open source anyhow. Colatin in here. we could dig so much out of this. We have the XML file here for the manifest. And the resources, which there's a lot of. And the APK signature, that's probably not going to, yep, there's the APK signature. Yay, so we can see it's a legit app. And that's it. So we just looked at the eNaria wallet, just like we did with the eYuan. And that was that. So now I'm going to switch over to face mode, and we're going to end this episode that went on way longer because we started off way later than I wanted to. So yeah, back to Second CD Vision. That's today's Crypto Barons. To recap, we took a look at blockchain tech in Africa. We sort of explained why Africa would adapt digital cryptocurrency technologies as fast as it is, because as a kind of a current theme here, despite all the stereotyping of Africans, many African nations and locations were already used to things like m-pesa and other digital bank transfer applications way before Americans with Apple Pay and Cash App and things like that. They were way ahead of the curve on that. And then we sort of looked at a bunch of different tech. We looked at a bunch of homegrown stuff that offered some cool solutions. We looked at some more questionable things, including one scam of an American rapper trying to create his own stupid fucking city. And then we sort of looked into the Ponzi scheme nature of what's going on with Africa today, the cryptocurrencies, where the snake oil salesmen have not only come in and recolonized the place under crypto broism, but have already caused damage, like with the ever ongoing dumpster file as FTX. And we're still going to continue to see that again with that Cardino contract with Ethiopia. Let's see how Cardino goes. Before we go on, we might have to do an update episode later. And then lastly, we looked at Nigeria, who is already carving ahead, even way before China, with doing their own digital currency while kicking cryptocurrency out. And because they, unlike most cryptocurrencies, they don't apply to open source, we quickly went and reverse engineered it and looked at the source code anyhow. So that was the end of our episode. I think this is a great end to Black History Month, so now you know not only of Black history in cryptocurrency, which is very young, but you got to go even deeper into our roots and learn the history of, it's not just African Americans in crypto, because that's too myopic, but African Americans with digital payment systems in general, again with m-pesa and stuff. This is, even though we started super late because of my stupidity, I did a lot of research for this episode, and this was a really fun episode to cover. I'm so excited, even though it's a stupid o'clock in the morning. It's literally 2:01, ironically enough, in the morning, 2:01, DCG 2:01. We're going to try to stick more to the schedule next month in March, so if everything goes right, we should have a Crypto Barons episode on March 11th, and unlike the Master of Unlocking, I don't know what topic we're going to be covering for the 11th and the 25th, so stay tuned. We're going to announce that the week that they happen. So second week of March, you're going to hear about what the next Crypto Barons is. But we're going to aim for the 11th and the 25th next month. We're going to be more on track. There'll be more crypto and blockchain conferences happening soon, as well as other cool things that we hope to live stream that are blockchain related and hacker related. So stay tuned for those. You're going to really see DCG 201 particularly expand spring into summer. So that's going to be fun, especially with some of the announcements I'm going to be doing in a couple of days and some cleanup, including starting tonight. So I hope to see you on the 11th and 25th for Crypto Barons at the end of our show. If you are curious about more Crypto Barons or some of the other shows like Master of Unlocking and stuff like that, you can go check us out on the, come on, copy pasta, on our DCG 201 Medium blog. We also have a Right As blog that I will link to in a moment, but this is, once we get the website back online, I'll link to the website again, but the blog is a good place to go, even though it hasn't been updated in a while, but we're going to be updating that soon. And if you want to follow us on social media and other blog platforms and other streaming services, you can follow us on the Linktree social media right there. Common ones including the Bird site on Twitter at DEFCON201NJ. We're also DEFCON201 on Instagram on the Hodestucks social instance of Mastodon, the way better social media platform. We're also on DCG DEFCON 201 and DCG 201 on the newer platforms such as Co-Host and Tribal. and we're on many video platforms. So if you like the stuff that you can see, follow us. Even when we're not live, we'll still get notifications while we're streaming. But even if we're not live, follow us on Twitch and YouTube. If you're following us on YouTube for completely free, make sure you click that bell and turn all notifications on, because YouTube sucks. Join our new Odyssey channel. That's been a really cool thing to start. It's blockchain-based, censorship-resistant streaming platform and video platform, and we've been video streaming from there, so I hope you check us out there. And of course, you can see us on NVIDIA on tour and a bunch of other different things. And again, we depreciated the D-Live, but we're going to return to it for April. I'm already sending the emails for what that's going to be. It's going to be a cool special. It's going to partly involve crypto barons, and I'm excited for it. And finally, we're gonna, next month, I plan on doing more CTF. We're gonna go back to doing CTF stuff. Again, March is gonna be a huge month for us. It has to be because it's our anniversary, but I have plans. But if you want to do chat, that's the Discord link. And finally, again, even though this wasn't a fundraiser month, if you have too much crypto that you don't know what to do with, and speaking of Africa, you want to help out Africans with your crypto, do what Akon couldn't, and just donate any of the 50 types of cryptocurrencies, including all the major ones like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero, Doge, etc., that the Giving Block supports, to the Water Wells for Africa, that will help Africans in various parts of the continent get clean, affordable, and available water. So that's really it. Thank you for watching Crypto Barons. I hope you, whether you're watching live or retroactively, learned a bunch of stuff. It was so fun researching this. I've been researching this for like almost a year now, putting things together. It's one of the reasons why it took so long to set up. So despite the low-res Sega CD quality camera that I stupidly have right now, this was such a fun episode to do. I can't wait to see you guys on hopefully the 11th and 25th if our scheduling works out. Way more to come for this show, way more to come for DCG 201. Again, you can check us out on all of our social medias and our blog. Website should be finally going up live soon. I want to note that if you are on YouTube, you're going to be forwarded to, I couldn't find a good crypto thing to forward to, so it's going to be a lockpicking thing, kind of in preparation for the next Master of Unlocking next month, and it's going to be really cool. Again, Lady Locks is amazing. Totally check her out after this video. And if you're on Twitch, stay tuned, because we're going to go raid a channel. I don't know. It's super late at night, so it might be a tech thing. And so late at night, it's probably going to be something weird. But stay tuned and say hi to them on Twitch when we go raid them. So that's it for our show. Hope you check us out on social media and stuff. Hope to see you on the 11th and the 25th for Crypto Barons. And, of course, our big anniversary meeting next month, in person or online. I'm Sidepocket from TCG 201. Hack the Planet, Dirty Jersey represents. And remember that even when you have a perfect streaming environment like this amazing hidden hacker compound, if Murphy wants to make everything go wrong, it can go wrong. But we had this episode and there's been no tech issues, so yay for that. So anyhow, again, say hi to whoever we raid on Twitch and whoever we forward to on YouTube. See you next time. Enjoy the music. Peace, everyone. Have a great day. Hack the planet.
you.